what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Civil Engineering Academy podcast. I keep bouncing around. You can see I've got different backgrounds. We're still in the process of moving. It's a long one, but we're going to get there. But today, I'm excited. I bring my brother Mark back on. He occasionally attends some really fun conferences, really fun events. One of them is a business roundtable that's performed and hosted by a Utah business magazine, talking about the AEC industry within Utah, but really what's described there can be spread to the rest of the nation, really. I'm sure the pulse, what's going on is similar around the nation. So it's always fun to talk about that as he's rubbed shoulders with some of the industry leaders there and to kind of see where things are headed and to get the pulse on things. So today I bring Mark back on. We're going to talk about that. I think you're really going to enjoy it. If you need help on your own journey to become a professional engineer, make sure to check us out at civilengineeringacademy.com. And we always love if you can share these things, like them, subscribe them. It all helps with the whatever algorithm of whatever platform you're listening or watching to this on. So appreciate that. Share it with another civil engineering friend. We like that too. So anyway, without further ado, my interview is going to be coming up right after this. Hey, before we start diving into this awesome podcast episode with lots of nuggets of awesome wisdom that we're going to help you with, I want to take a moment to highlight our awesome partner, Civil Engineer Gear. As a civil engineer myself, this is hands down the go-to destination for sleek and professional looking day-to-day gear with a civil engineering flair. You can bet that it's mine for sure. So whether you're on the job site, the job office, you're burning the midnight oil studying for your exams, or you're just chilling at home on the weekends, which many of us do, there is civil engineering inspired products there that combine functionality and professionalism to be your companion, your best companion during those days you want to check out. I definitely love the comfortable t-shirts and sweatshirts. I'm wearing one right now. I don't start my day without a awesome drink. One of my favorite drinks in their awesome canteens. We also have awesome mugs, and don't even get me started on the spacious bags that they have there. They're big enough for all of my personal protective equipment, my PPE, shove it all in there, carry it with me. And it's not so big that you can't carry it around. It's actually a perfect fit. You can use it for your gym clothes. You can use it for your camping gear, yoga, whatever it is, you name it, throw it in the bag. Now, the best part of all this is that shipping is free on all orders. So if you are interested in getting some sweet civil engineering gear, check it out at civilengineergear.com and make sure to treat yourself with some awesome gear and accessories tailored specifically to your professional and personal life as a civil engineer. Go check it out. You won't be disappointed. All right, Mark, we're live and running. What's going on?
Bam. Hey, it's good to be back. It's always fun.
Yeah, we like having you on here. So as we dive into this, maybe you could describe a little bit more in detail what this roundtable is, why people may be interested in listening.
Yeah. So this is an event that's put on again, like you said, by the Utah Business Magazine. And I'm sure this kind of thing happens in every market throughout the country. There's a publication of some sort, probably the most popular publication that deals with business in a certain region. They want to get all the professionals that they think are, and I was honored to be invited back to this thing. I've done it for 3 years now, but they get everybody in a room together and then they pitch questions and ask everybody what their thoughts are. So I'm sure it's a common thing that happens everywhere, but I got the privilege of participating in the one that they put on here in Utah. So.
Well, did they have a good lunch? That's an important question.
Well, they actually had a good breakfast. We did it in the morning. Yeah.
Excellent.
So, breakfast was served.
I like it. Well, let's talk about, I guess, what you're learning. Is there any trends that are going on out there that maybe we should know about?
Yeah. One of the big things that was brought up multiple times was just, the types of projects that were coming online, that were coming available, what the headwinds, what are the difficulties that are confronting everybody's construction business. And so the people in the room were all leaders in both the heavy highway and civil type construction and then the commercial construction. Plus, there was good representation by all the major specialty subcontractors in our market. So the big electrical guys and the big concrete frame guys and the big mechanical guys, and they all had good representation as well. But one of the big things that was brought up time and time again is the difficulty of privately funded projects getting off the ground. It seems like the publicly funded projects are moving forward, and those keep coming out. And there's been some influx, or I guess some input into infrastructure and those kind of things lately with some of the legislation that's passed. And the government is spending lots of money, as we know, which translates into some of the inflation that we see currently. But there's plenty of money from the publicly funded sources, but it's the privately funded sources that are kind of drying up. And so a lot of that's, of course, because the interest rates are a lot higher. And so like, for example, here in Utah, we have a huge need for additional housing. We're short. Latest numbers that I've heard is, we're somewhere in the 170,000 units that we're short in this market. And I'm sure that's a trend in a lot of other places around the country. But so there's lots of developers that are trying to get into markets, and they're incentivized by different tax, benefits. There's opportunity zones that they like to take advantage of where they get tax benefits. But bottom line is they can't get their pro formas to pencil anymore. They can't get the normal returns that they've enjoyed in, I would say, pre-COVID times, before inflation kind of took off and the interest rates went up. They can't get those numbers to work. They don't get the returns that they've enjoyed in the past. And so a lot of these deals are falling through. And so those construction companies that are heavily dependent on the privately funded sector of construction, they're taking a hit. It's tough on them right now. That was kind of a recurring theme that went through the roundtable.
Do they project that will continue to be an issue, or do they think interest rates will come down because inflation is slowly being tamed?
There was a little bit of optimism with recently the Fed suggested that they weren't going to continue to raise interest rates into this year, right? That they were going to potentially lower interest rates. So there was a little bit of, I guess, positive outlook because of that. It obviously hasn't happened yet, but there was a little bit of optimism that maybe things are going to change a little bit. And then there's also municipalities, or the jurisdiction having authority. Sometimes they call them JHAs in the development world, but some of those municipalities are trying to find different tax incentives, or sometimes they have the name of it, the organizations that they put together where there's public-private partnerships, redevelopment agencies. That's the word I'm trying to think of. RDAs, where they can kind of give the developer a little bit more tax incentive, or a little bit more benefit for coming to their location and developing. They're trying to figure out different things using those tools to get their deals to work. So while right now it's kind of bleak and there's a lot of apprehension, there is a little bit of optimism because of those two things. I think interest rates are probably going to come down a little bit, and then these municipalities are trying to work out different deals and tax incentives to get their pro formas to work and get these projects off the ground, because they're needed. The demand is there.
I'm just curious, but where are we with the state of COVID and the industry? Are we still feeling the effects of that, or is that kind of moved on and we're back to speed?
No, we're feeling, I would say, on the supply side of things, where especially the electrical equipment supply side of things, that's still being felt. Lead times for switchgear and panels and switches, and I'm sure you've seen it in your industry, Isaac, but I mean, some of the lead times are, still a year out on some things, and it's just that part is still tough. I'd say, materials like wood, and I mean, there's still a lot of pressure on cement powder production. Cement powder costs continue to rise. I'd say it's I don't know, it's evened out in a lot of ways, but there's still a lot of supply side issues, especially when you're talking about electrical components and components that are coming in from overseas. Like inventory has not caught up with demand yet.
Yeah. I know in the utility world, everyone's still feeling the effects of that. Lead times just are out there and have not come back down.
Yeah.
And I think part of that too is also the demand for it is also skyrocketed with, at least on the electrical side, you've got EVs, everything's needs to be charged, and the demand for this stuff is going through the roof. So hard to catch up. What about, employment wise and COVID, anything there, or is that kind of a non-issue now? Hybrid work environment, any issues?
Yeah, because the number of projects has dropped. The existing workforce, right, is there's not as much poaching going on, meaning there's not as much, I'm going to steal that superintendent from that organization over there because I really like him. I'm going to pay him more money and he's going to come work for me. I like that foreman. I like that guy. There's not a lot of that going on anymore, right? People seem to be, with the workload that they've got, being able to handle things managerial-wise. I'd say there's still a little bit of that going on with the trades people, but not a lot. That's subsided. But I think that's just because the volume of construction work has kind of leveled off, right? Because of this, these privately funded projects not going. So I would say that's kind of that wage war has subsided that we were having, and that huge demand. I mean, we still have demand for people to come in to construction. There's still a shortage as far as getting new blood and new people into the trades, and yeah, I'd say it's all kind of evened out right now. But I think most of that's because the volume has subsided. The amount of projects has kind of evened up a little bit here. Stabilized.
What about on the technology front? Was there any discussion about new technologies, BIM modeling, drones, anything along technologies that came up?
Yeah, it's interesting because in the past, the BIM modeling is always something it's been brought up for years when cutting edge tech and construction comes up, but BIM's been used for years now. I wouldn't even consider that cutting edge anymore. The fact that, I don't know, the level of detail that the design team is willing to release to the construction side of things, like BIM hasn't really been released, I would say, to its full potential. It's been used to generate the design, but there's still a little bit of a
marketing side and a customer relation side.
Yeah, but there's still a little bit of a bottleneck where BIM isn't fully realized. The potential of it isn't fully realized because at the end of the day, they still produce 2D drawings, right? Like a construction company is still expected to produce a project off of a set of 2D drawings, after we've developed this fancy 3D model of our project. What's our what do we use? What's the documentation that we used at the end of the process to build the job? It's still a 2D drawing, And so BIM hasn't been fully released the full power of it, where it gets into, releasing details for fabrication. And sometimes the level of detail that they produce a BIM model in isn't such that they can do that. Like, for a lot of our concrete frames that we build, I mean, the BIM model never shows me every stick of rebar that's in the building, or every strand of post-tensioning cable that's in the building. It doesn't get to that level of detail yet. And a lot of that's because the files get really big and cumbersome, but it's still, I don't know. It's been used for a long
Missing the
time,
piece somewhere.
but the full potential hasn't been realized yet. And so they're still trying to make sure that, or they're still trying to get it so that it enhances all of those workflows after the design is done. How do we roll out the information a lot more efficiently? How do we disseminate all this information to the trades so they can produce their shop drawings? And that hasn't happened yet. So there's talk about that kind of stuff getting better.
I think there's a training component too. Like, you have guys designing this stuff and working on a 3D model, and then to issue that to the field, these guys probably are not used to seeing stuff like that or using it, or how do
There's
they
a little
get
bit of
the
that.
information that they want? They need training and computers
Yeah, that's true.
that have a tablet.
There is an element of that, but all my field guys, they have iPads. They're using those to see the drawings. They're looking at 2D drawings on their iPads most of the time, right? So there's still that disconnect between that data-rich 3D model and getting that information out in the field so that it can actually be implemented into the project. There's still a little bit of a disconnect with that workflow. And so there was a lot of talk about streamlining that and making it better. And so that was a big one. They also, of course, everybody's talking about and the drones. You brought up the drones. That was another one that everybody's using, the drones. That's turned into a really nice tool to not only document the construction, but to be able to show ownership as the construction proceeds, how they're, meeting schedule. And then if an unforeseen event happens, how can they use the drone footage to illustrate to the owner that this is what happened to us. It was kind of an unforeseen condition. This is how we're working through it. And then using photogrammetry and stuff to measure quantities of production. And drones are just, they're just, everybody's using them nowadays, and they've become a nice piece of technology. But like everything else these days, the AI stuff came up, right? How's everybody using AI in their industry? And I don't know, it was interesting. Anybody that, I think people don't know what it is yet, right?
It helps me write emails.
Yeah, it's kind of a buzzword, and AI's in this and AI's in that, but I don't think it's understood what it is exactly. I fired up my Chat GPT and I typed in what I needed to. I was trying to write a technical letter, a technical email out to my clients, and Chat GPT helped me produce that email. Well, okay, that's great, but it was just interesting because as we went around the table, people kind of talked about how they embrace technology and that we have to embrace technology and that's a need. But you could tell that nobody understands what AI is, at least as far as how it's going to be implemented in the construction process. That's still an unknown. Nobody understands that, but they want to talk about, well, we're going to embrace technology and whatever comes down the pike, and it's going to be great. But in reality, nobody knows what it's going to do. Nobody knows.
I just don't think it's hit the industry yet for AEC stuff.
No.
I think it does in certain aspects, but recently just did an interview and we talked about AI and its use. And I think where it helps or where it will help is a lot of the front end work for things, doing estimates, putting together quick designs, even of buildings. But it still needs to be combed over by an engineer or someone to really dive into it and make sure whatever it's doing is accurate. So it's just like any software, it's a tool, and I just don't think it's been realized yet. No one's invented anything, I think, that's really moved the needle on that. But I do think it will come. I think there are stuff that will come out that will help.
Yeah.
So
there'll be some smart innovations that'll implement that, and yeah, I think everybody talks about how it's coming, but I don't think anybody really understands what that means yet. And in the construction industry, a lot of times we like to stand back and kind of wait to see what gets established, what standards kind of get established, and what makes sense to implement as far as technology. I would say construction industry in general isn't like the first one to jump in and start using something. They want to kind of take a wait and see kind of an approach. Like, let's make sure that this makes sense. This is going to work. Is it really a good solution?
yeah.
And if it proves out, then yeah, they're on board and we're off and running. But
Yeah,
they kind of
utilities are the same way. They wait and see, and then they'll jump in. They're not the first to adopt stuff usually. So,
and there's some wisdom in that, I think. I mean, there's so many software packages and project management packages and job costing packages that are out there. It's mind-boggling. All of the bid services and just everything that's out there, and you have to kind of step back and say, okay, what really makes sense for my organization? Because tech is changing so fast. It's hard to keep up.
Well, I know our time is short today, but maybe we can wrap this up with the last question. And you had all these different industries together. Was there any talk about collaboration between each of these industries or industry leaders, and what was even mentioned about that?
Well, collaboration leaned towards most everybody hates the old design, bid, build, delivery process, right? Project is designed, then it's released to the industry for bidding, right? Competitively bid, and then you get all the bids back and the low bidder gets the job, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just that model has just fraught with all kinds of problems, from the winning bidder having forgot some things, or he was just incompetent with his takeoff or his bidding, his estimating, right? And he missed a bunch of stuff, and now he's low bidder and he gets the job.
Oops.
And then halfway through the job he can't perform because he realizes, oh man, I forgot that whole west wing on the building, or whatever the problem is, and he doesn't have the costs in his budget to cover it, and then the project goes south. There was a lot of talk about trying to get away from that model, where maybe the design assist or the CMGC model delivery method is a little bit better, where the general contractor gets brought in as part of the design team. And even though the design team still works directly for the owner, the GC is brought in early to help shepherd the design, guide the design, and then the owner gets a nice economical design that meets his needs, his or her needs, but then they get the best product at the end of the process, because the GC, he's the one that's in touch with what things cost to build. And so that design is continually running through that GC filter, right? He's constantly looking at where the status of the design, updating his pricing, and then making adjustments as they go. And then you kind of get the best of both worlds. you get a good design, and you've got an economical price. So there was a lot of talk like that, that's where the industry needs to go. The old design, bid, build model needs to just get buried, go away completely. But it's hard because, most publicly funded projects, most municipalities that are releasing projects for bid, they have to do that by law, right? So it's not going away, but that was the big thing as far as collaboration. People would like to see more of that going on.
Yeah. I'm just leaning on my own experience here, but we always had a better designed product when I got a general foreman involved or someone that actually gets out there and builds this stuff. And if I get their opinion on what I've got designed and they can help with making decisions on things, it was always a better product and better for crews to build, better for engineering too. So I think that's a good way to go. Cool. Mark, thanks for doing this. Is there any last second tips, anything else that popped up that you wanted to share?
Well, just that there was they asked a question at the very end, what's the future outlook, construction industry, and everybody was, pretty positive despite this higher interest rate thing and the publicly and the privately funded project issues that I brought up at the first of our discussion. Everybody was pretty positive about the direction of the construction industry and the bright future that we have. And that's a reflection too on the overall, I'd say AEC industry, right? The architects have lots of projects to design. There's a big demand, and engineers have lots of stuff to design, and then contractors have lots of stuff they can look forward to building. We just need to get past some of these issues that have been created because of the high interest rates, and the market will level out. It'll adjust, but that's the good news, is everybody was fairly positive with what they thought was going to happen here in the near future, in the 2-year horizon. So
awesome. Well, that should be good news for everyone out there. So hopefully we'll keep talking about it, and you'll feel the effects as people move forward and building new things. So good stuff. Mark, thanks for jumping on and sharing this. Good information.
Yeah, anytime, man. It's always fun.
All right, man. We'll talk to you again in a future episode.
Okay. See ya.
Bye.